Okay, guys, The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 9, the finale. It happened. It's over now. If you have not seen this yet, just stop watching this video, but be sure to come back because I am going to talk spoilers for the season finale of The Last of Us Season 1. It makes me so sad that this journey is over. I have loved seeing Ellie and Joel and their journey in a different light. Very similar light, but a different light. If you have yet to watch the episode, stop watching now. But please do come back later. I'm going to dive into spoilers for the finale of The Last of Us Season 1, as well as spoilers, my spoiler thoughts of the season as a whole. So first of all, let's talk about this episode. As expected, it lined up exactly how we expected it to. Lines up with the Last of Us Part 1 video game. And gosh, there was so much in this episode that did really well. Now, I will say going into it, I turned it on and I see it's 43 minutes and I'm like, what is going on? Why is the finale just 43 minutes? This feels weird. I mean, the time range, the runtime range of this season, these episodes has been insane. It's like 80 some odd minutes and now like 43. And for this to be the shortest episode felt weird. At the same time, I knew there was only so much story left to tell. So many nods to the game in this one. Like, can we just talk about for a second how they were in this building? And Joel's like, hey, can you climb up there? I'll boost you up, and you drop the ladder down. I was like, oh my gosh, the amount of times I had to do that in the game. Like, I can't even count how many times we had to drop a ladder down. Loved that. And then, of course, I loved Ellie getting to see the giraffes. That was amazing. It was very, very cool. Looked incredible. And it just was fun to like have that moment, right? And then of course you have Ellie getting quieter and more nervous as they get closer to the fireflies, which we definitely expected. But my favorite thing about this episode, like my absolute favorite thing, is the beginning of this episode. We get to see Ashley Johnson playing Ellie's mom. Now, for those of you who don't know, she is the voice of Ellie in the video game. Literally, as she was talking, like, all I could hear was Ellie. It was actually really kind of surreal and weird. But I loved getting to see that, and I love that we get the whole, like, this is how Ellie... this is how she's immune, right? Her mom's pregnant. She's running away from an infected. The infected eventually gets to her, bites her like seconds before she gives birth. I mean, she literally pushes out Ellie like a minute after she kills the infected. Not even a minute. It was crazy. I was like, that was convenient for storytelling. But she pushes Ellie out, cuts the umbilical cord, and was it enough time to not infect her? We don't know, right? Supposedly, at the time, she doesn't know. Marlene comes in, and she's like, Marlene, listen, we've known each other forever. I promise you, I cut the umbilical cord before I was bit. Take my baby, find someone to raise her. Her name is Ellie, and then please kill me. Takes a little bit of convincing, but Marlene does it, and we see, okay, this is how things happened. Now, obviously, now we learn this is how Ellie was immune, right? It immediately started growing alongside her from birth, and it just had her brain produce these chemicals that made her immune. Very, very interesting. Love the science behind it because it feels like, yeah, that really could make sense. But of course, later on, that is where things... This is her downfall, okay, right? This is the doctors say, okay, well, this is how we get it. We get the thing out, we study it, we make the same chemical, and we give that to everybody, and then everybody is immune. But it means killing Ellie. So, you know, as Joel and Ellie have this bonding experience where Joel explains, like, it was me, like, I tried to kill myself, I flinched, I don't know why. That's why I got this scar, which they had talked about at the beginning of the season. And Ellie says oh my gosh, I was sobbing. When Ellie says time heals all, and he's like, it wasn't time. He meant it was her, and their bond and themselves together. And I just loved that moment so much. And then he says he's in the mood for some shitty puns, and they have a grand old time until the fireflies show up. They don't know who they are at the time, of course. And when they realize who they are, they immediately separate the two. Joel wakes up and learns what they're doing. Marlene is like, hey, she's being prepped for surgery. Promise you, we didn't tell her. So, you know, she'll have no pain. She was never fearful of this. Like, she's just gonna die and we'll move along. Joel's not cool with that. And he has this tough choice to make, which ends up being, of course, going through and like obliterating the fireflies, which again was very similar to the video game, having to go through the hospital, hide around corners, kill people. I remember doing that in the hospital going, this is like the end of the game. I know it is. I think I died just a couple of times. Listen, I'm not the best at video games. I've said it before, but I have fun playing them. But that scene was very reminiscent of Joel going through the hospital and then eventually getting there and just straight up murdering the doctor when they would not unhook her. That was amazing. Loved watching that play out as well. Of course, then he takes Ellie and he's leaving and Marlene shows up and she's all like, listen, she's going to eventually die. You can't keep her safe forever. She's going to die. The infected are going to rip her apart. Raiders are going to kill her. And it's all because she lives in this broken world that you could have saved and you're choosing right now not to. Those people who have not played the game and are not familiar with the story see Joel driving and they might think, oh, he's driving alone. This is it. He left Ellie there. But then we see flashes back. Ellie, wakes up in the back seat and we see flashes back of him killing Marlene, even though she begs him not to. And he's like, listen, you're just going to come after her. And he tells Ellie a bull-faced lie, right? Oh, they had like a dozen people they were testing and the doctors like couldn't make it work. So they're giving up on a cure and we're just going to go to Wyoming to Jackson and it's going to be our home. We're going to go back to Tommy. And Ellie's like, okay. Like, she doesn't fully believe him, which even comes out at the end, the very, very end. She says to him, like, swear to me everything you said about the Fireflies was true. And he's like, okay, it's true. And she's like, okay. And it's like, that's going to come back and bite them in the butt, which maybe we'll see in season 2. Who knows? I'm not going to ruin it for you guys if you haven't played the game. I did really like their time walking and talking about Sarah. And he's like, Sarah would have really loved you. Like, he's opening up. And I love that. He's healing. He's pretty much healed at this point. And I love that that's what Ellie has done for him. And he's also healed Ellie in certain ways as well. Saved her life. And they've saved each other's life numerous times. And that is what I love about this season, is that it really brought them together. Now, if we're talking nitpicks of the season, because listen, I'm ranking this thing, I almost ranked it at a 5 out of 5, but I figured let's be a little critical and I'll rank it at a 4.5 out of 5. But really, it was so tough because I love this season. I think it did such a good job of taking the story from the video game and changing it and adapting it only when it needed to make the story better. For example, like Bill and Frank, it just made more sense the way that story played out in here than what we got in the game. So I like that they did that. My biggest nitpick about this series as a whole so far, season, is that we really didn't get enough of the infected. Don't get me wrong, we get a lot. We get a good amount. There's some massive battles, like you think back to Kathleen and them when they get attacked. We got clickers, which was amazing, and we got bloaters, and then we got the general infected, and the visuals for them was stunning. They looked incredible. It just felt like we didn't get a lot of them. I would have loved to see more. Now, that being said, I mean, when you see them in the game, it's like you're sneaking around to kill them. If they just made Joel and Ellie and whoever else sneak around really slowly, hiding behind things until they get a good angle to kill clickers or infected, it would get boring pretty quickly and feel extremely repetitive. So I understand why they did what they did. Also, kind of the main message of the video games and the series is really the people are worse than the infected, right? They're the dangerous ones, the things they do. They kill people, they raid, they literally eat people. So, like, to have the infected take a back seat in order to let these threats come forward did make sense. And I love the way that they focused on kind of a beat with each episode. I think that was smart, as much as, like, I would have loved to see more of Jackson, or I would have loved to see more of David, I would have loved to see more of that. It made sense the way they played it out, so, like, I'll let that slide. But this was so good because, again, they changed very little things that they needed to. We got the DLC, we got the story of Ellie and Riley, which I think played out really well. Just as a whole, I think they're going to make fans of the video game extremely happy. And I think they're also going to make newcomers happy, kind of feeling like, oh, maybe this is the new The Walking Dead. Now, we do know that season 2 clearly at this point is going to focus mainly on The Last of Us Part 2 video game. They're probably going to do it as a whole, much like they did with this season. We also know there is a third game in development, and so hopefully, we do get a third season of the series, and that's just going to play out as that as well. Now, we got some amazing moments, some emotional roller coaster moments like Sam and Henry, things I knew that were going to play out on screen were going to feel extremely emotional, because heck, I cried playing them in the game, so I knew seeing them on screen was going to break me a little bit. There are some things coming up. We all know what they are. if you've played the game in season 2 that I don't think I'm ready for. I start thinking about it and I'm gonna tear up. I don't know how it's gonna break me. But I'm still excited to watch it all play out whenever season 2 drops. You guys let me know your thoughts on the finale of The Last of Us season 1, and what did you think of the season as a whole? Let me know down below in the comments. Be sure to give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more videos like this. And of course, stuff as season 2 rolls around. Be sure to check me out over on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and at MamasGeeky.com. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much to all my monetary supporters, my members, and my Patreons. Love you guys.